Всем привет, с вами Элизабет, и мы с вами продолжаем прохождение игры Шерлок Холмс, глава первая. В прошлой части мы осмотрели квартиру Меркьюрио, и сейчас нам нужно найти девушку с рисунка.
Phew, Sherry, that was close. But you did everything correctly. Now, take off your outfit. I can't let you walk around in a dead man's clothes.
Переодеваемся в османский костюм, чтобы опросить прохожих. Теперь ищем того, кто сможет нам помочь.
Are you able to help me?
Mother says we should help each other, but I can't help you with this.
Nasılsın?
May I ask you something?
Nobody cares about us, so why should I care about anybody?
Hiç bak.
May I ask you something?
We should stick together, especially in times like this. I'll tell you everything I know.
Такие шрамы считаются традиционными для народа Эви. На кордоне представители этого народа не живут, но их можно найти в лагере беженцев под мостом Виктории между Скаладио и Сильвертоном. Переодеваемся снова и отправляемся к мосту Виктории.
Merhaba.
Beasts!
Murderers!
They're completely livid.
First they come to our land, then they murder our people.
Sir, this place is off limits to the public. Please state your business or leave, or I shall request that the police escort you out.
My name is Sherlock Holmes. I'm a private investigator. I'm looking for a witness for a case.
A private investigator? Really? Even so, you're not authorised. I can't let you in.
And you are?
I'm Ronald Harlow, here to handle the refugee situation on behalf of City Hall. I'm the acting supervisor here, so I have full authority here to ask you to leave, or I shall order the police to detain you for trying to pass the blockade. Please, step back.
Составляем портрет Рональда. Делаем вывод, что он ошеломленный формалист.
What about the murder that this crowd keeps shouting about?
It's mere assumption. I assure you that the situation is under the police's control.
I know you want to deal with this in the right way. You are obviously a professional and a responsible person, but you clearly have never handled a situation like this before.
I am handling it, Mr. Holmes. Don't question my capability here.
And tell me how you do it. You can't even calm this gathered crowd, and as for the police, they're not quite managing it either, are they? You consider yourself a problem solver, but until today, you've been solving problems sitting at your desk in a dark corner of a city hall room. Here, you need a more practical approach.
What are you driving at, Mr. Holmes?
I can help you to handle the situation if you're truly interested in solving things quickly and quietly.
And how exactly would you manage that?
Simply tell the police that I'm with City Hall and I'm permitted to investigate the scene. I'll work out the rest, but in return I need your help finding my witness. She's a young refugee. She's with child or was with child recently.
Look, there is indeed a dead body inside the camp. So even if the girl you are looking for is there, all the refugees are now being detained and interrogated by the police. They won't allow you to speak with her, and I can't do anything about that until the situation settles down.
So it's in our mutual interest to settle.
Oh. I suppose that things are bad enough that I ought not shy away from help. All right, Mr. Holmes. I'll tell the police to allow you to come inside. Just tell me when you're ready.
Mr. Harlow, what exactly do you do here? What are your responsibilities?
What I do and what I am responsible for are two different realities, Mr. Holmes. On paper, I am in charge of the camp territory, security, provision, and the refugees in general. What I actually do most of the time is knock on every City Hall door trying to obtain some funding, or at least rations for the camp.
The police here on City Hall's behalf too?
They are, minus those who came here after the body was found. The governor won't let the refugees disperse into the island, so there's a significant police presence guarding the camp. Naturally, they answer directly to the police. I have some influence here, but I'm not their direct authority.
Mr. Harlow, how did the refugees end up here exactly?
Oh, so you're not from around here yourself?
I've been away for some time, but I read the papers.
Yes, this whole story has been in the papers for almost a year now. They were smuggled to Cordona on a ship from Africa.
Smuggled? Then why didn't you deport them?
The smugglers managed to sneak them to shore and hide them inside an abandoned warehouse. When the police raided the warehouse and found the refugees there, the ship was already gone. We aren't even certain as to which ship it was. We have busy shipping routes with other colonies these days, you see.
So you decided to lock them up under a bridge?
There was no other option. We're still trying to work out what to do with them. I only hope we'll find a humane solution and not put them on a raft and float them out to sea.
I'm ready to take a look at the scene.
All right. Go inside the camp and find Inspector Tewkesbury. He's the officer investigating the scene. Tell him I sent you. Say you're an independent expert from City Hall. He'll fill in the details for you.
I'll find my way with words. Thank you, Mr. Harlow.
So they keep these refugees under a bridge like proverbial trolls. No wonder the people outside are so disturbed.
Who the hell are you? How did you get in here?
Mr. Ronald Harlow let me in, sir. I'm Sherlock Holmes, a surveyor of refugee affairs with City Hall. You're Inspector Tewkesbury, I presume?
A surveyor? What does that even mean?
In short, I've been sent to conduct an extensive report on the incident for the Colonial Office and to assess all the damage inflicted on state property.
Got it. Another paperworm sent to count money and get food for archive mold. Go on, look around, but don't make yourself too at home. As if I didn't have enough problems before you appeared.
Could you first tell me what happened here?
What happened? People from the bridge above the camp heard a woman screaming and saw a mass of refugees attacking a man. Clearly not a refugee. When the camp guards came by, the man was floating in the sewage canal with a knife in his chest. Bam. A murder. Big news for Cordona.
I'm sure. Thank you, Inspector. Did you learn anything about the dead man?
The fellow looks like a thug. I've had dozens like him fished out of the sea over the past 20 years. Ever since these refugees arrived, there have been people on Cordona with bad blood in them. My best bet is that this thug had something against them too.
And no clue as to his identity?
He had some items on his body, but nothing to indicate who he was or where he was from.
I think I should catalogue his possessions in my records.
Go on. They're on the table near the body.
Do you have any suspects yet?
You're joking, right? I've got a whole camp full of suspects. And if you ask me, this bloke had it coming. Better bury him and forget about the whole thing. And now there's a crowd gathered at the camp, and my superiors say we must thoroughly interrogate the refugees, at least those who can understand any English.
Do you believe that your superiors wish to get rid of the refugees?
I think that both our superiors would rather keep the story quiet. Since that's an unaffordable luxury now, they're looking how to protect their public image. That's why I have to waste my time waiting for my people to turn every stone and befriend every refugee.
And none of the refugees were harmed?
One fellow was cut. He's lying over there near their kitchen. He's in a bad way.
You mentioned a woman screaming who attracted the bypassers on the bridge. Was she harmed?
No, she's all right, but perhaps the whole debacle started because of her. She started wailing and the refugees stood up for the girl.
And where is this young woman now?
Back there in the shacks, same as the rest of the refugees. She's been questioned by my men, but she's just some refugee girl. Can't understand much English.
Начинаем осматривать местность.
Here we go again. Number of hours on Cordona before stumbling upon another dead body? 0.
Clearly a left handprint here. A furrow in the ground. A blood trail leading to or from the canal. A fresh crack, as if the crate was hit recently. Someone bled profusely here. Malpal, soaked with salt water. £1,000. A fair sum, especially considering British currency isn't very common in Cordona. A simple leather sheath. Perfect for a dirk. Coal dust under the nails. I don't see much coal around here. A steel dirk, sharp. A common accessory among sailors and soldiers. I'd say the blade penetrated upward, however the wound is too messy to be certain. An interesting tattoo. Does it mean something? Heavy boots, with one sole far more worn than the other. This man was limping John. A violent death. This man, limping. Coal dust. I think we're onto something here, John.
If they find out about the passage, everything will go to hell.
Подслушиваем полицейских.
Nobody will know anything if you keep your bloody mouth shut.
Sherry, just look at this. Living quarters in a sewer. What kind of a genius bureaucrat came up with this idea?
Carnelian agate beads, a traditional African adornment. Someone was dragged against their will. It might have been used as an improvised weapon. No hint of blood or impact. The blood sprayed off the blade after the strike.
Посмотрим на улики.
The cut is deep, potentially serious if not treated immediately. He is in shock, feverish and dehydrated.
Sherry, you know first aid. Surely you have a duty to help this man. You can't leave him to certain death.
Нужно помочь пострадавшему. Для этого нам нужна ткань для перевязки, вода и лекарственные растения.
Just washed. Better than nothing to bandage the wound. A man's footprint. A heavy boot with a worn-out sole. Police boots. Always happy to trample evidence. You know what? I'd like to understand.
What?
How did our dead man end up inside the camp in the first place? I'll use it to create a solution. I can use this to stop the infection from spreading. I've collected all the ingredients, now to prepare the first aid solution.
Проводим химический анализ. Меняем полярности у красного зеленого реагента. Добавляем синий, у которого также меняем полярность, и соединяем. Теперь мы можем помочь раненому.
Thank you. This should make you feel better, my friend. Now remain lying down and drink as much water as you can.
Well done, Sherry. At least he won't die from the infection.
Нужно понять, как же незнакомец попал в лагерь. Для этого осматриваем возможные варианты.
It's unlikely anyone could get in or out of the camp by water without alerting the police guards. A single Malpal butt. Roadman's cigarettes, a brand highly regarded by law enforcement officers. So there wasn't any sophisticated infiltration plan. The good old police just let the man into the camp. Now we have everything we need to get the full picture of what happened at the camp.
Теперь мы можем восстановить события. На камне слева есть следы крови. Значит, выбираем вариант, где незнакомец сам падает в воду. В этом месте Шерлок говорил, что ящики пнули. Значит, выбираем вариант, где незнакомец падает. Обращаем внимание на следы и выбираем, что незнакомец убегает. Здесь бусы были разорваны, значит, девушка здесь упала. Выбираем вариант, где девушку тащили. Выбираем вариант, где девушка пыталась вырваться, а ее защищал местный. Подтверждаем.
So, we have a thug who came to take a refugee woman with him. She resisted, but he dragged her by force. One of the refugees stood in his way, armed with a stick, yet he could do nothing against a cutthroat with a blade. The man didn't anticipate that the other refugees would intervene and stand against him. In the confusion, the woman managed to break free. The thug took fright and fled. He was stopped by the falling crates. He stumbled and fell, piercing his chest with his own blade. However, the wound didn't cause instant death. He managed to stand, but still bleeding, he lost his balance on the bridge and fell. Before all of this, the man had freely entered the camp through the main entrance. The police admitted him after they had a short smoke together.
You live by the sword, you die by the sword. In our man's case, it's the same sword.
Говорим с инспектором и Рональдом.
You still here?
Inspector, I believe I can aid your investigation. I know who the dead man is and what really happened.
You do? Well, good for you. But I'm afraid I'm not the one you need to share your findings with. Speak to Mr. Harlow here. He's the one responsible for settling things in the camp.
You don't even care to listen?
Oh, I do care. Maybe even more than I need to. But I'm only here today to lock the place up, question witnesses, and file the facts. It's sad, but coming up with conclusions is not among my tasks here. You fellows at City Hall do that. Anyway, speak to the supervisor. I'll just stand by and listen to what you have to say.
The guards at the sewers were speaking about taking refugees out of the camp. Do you know anything about this, Inspector?
Less than you do, obviously.
And this doesn't bother you as an officer of the law?
I can neither punish them nor put them on the right track, if that's what you're asking. Maybe your friends at City Hall could do something about it, but I seriously doubt that. To be honest, I'm sick and tired of being frowned on for my uniform. If those fine gentlemen you've eavesdropped on are in some shady business, that's on their heads.
Mr. Harlow, your refugees didn't murder anyone.
What? Pray tell me what you've learned.
All right, listen carefully. This might solve one problem for you, but will create a few more.
Oh, well, that's a great start.
The man came to the camp intending to kidnap one of your refugees, a woman. What he didn't expect was that the refugees would stand up to protect the woman. A brawl had broken out. In the chaos of it, the man stumbled over those crates and fell on his own blade.
How do you know he fell on his own blade?
The wound in his chest was inflicted from an unusual angle. It was not an offensive stab, shall we say. The refugees didn't touch him. And judging by the blood at the scene, the intruder managed to raise himself but was unable to walk very far. He ultimately fell into the canal.
But how did he sneak into the camp? Why didn't the police see him?
And this is where your new problems emerge, Mr. Harlow.
What do you mean?
You're not a dull-witted man. You know what I mean. There is no feasible way to get into the camp without the police guards knowing of it.
The pile of mess I had to sort out has just become bigger, but somehow that doesn't surprise me. Anyway, I thank you for your help, Mr. Holmes. I'll take it from here. Meanwhile, I'll make sure the police aren't detaining the refugees any longer. You can go back in and look for your witness.
You think one small clock can make any difference in this place?
Who knows, John? Just one ill-fitting cog could make the whole machine crumble.
Выиграем спор с Джоном. Для этого поговорим с местными.
Can I ask you a question?
They often take us from the camps to work. Most don't mind, though. It's the only way we get a glimpse of freedom.
По словам жителей лагеря, сюда часто приходят подозрительные люди и уводят беженцев для какой-то работы. Работа тяжелая, но за труд беженцы получают деньги и еду. Недавно над одной из девушек, ушедшей на заработки, надругались. С тех пор беженцы решили, что больше не позволят уводить из лагеря
So there's a
женщин.
smuggling ring in the camp. This wasn't the first time that someone freely entered the camp to take a refugee out.
At least it was certainly his last time. My gut tells me that we'll learn more about this ring when we find out where the thug came from.
Теперь нам нужно поговорить с девушкой.
You're the one who tended to our man's wounds. I thank you greatly. The police didn't allow us to help him.
The police will leave you alone now. I've proven to them that the man who came into the camp died due to his own foolishness.
Thank you for standing up for us. But nobody would help us without a reason. You're here because you want something.
Yes, I do. I need to speak with the girl drawn here.
The dead man came for her too. He wanted to take the girl away, but we won't allow her to be hurt again. What do you want from Naila?
Naila. She was hurt some time ago. I'm here to find the people who did this and bring them to justice. And to find them, I need Naila's help. Will you let me speak to her?
Justice. There's no justice on this land. But you helped us, so maybe your words are not empty. You can speak to Naila, if she wants it. But I will be watching you.
Hello, Naila? My name is Sherlock. I know someone hurt you. I am here to help. I'm trying to find the people involved and bring them to justice. Please. There is a photograph, and I'm sorry, it is terrible, but I simply must ask. Where did this happen? What can you tell me about these people? Christ, Sherlock. Naila, I'm sorry. I'm not very good at this.
You come here for me, but you are rude and cruel and condescending. A cross. The man had this cross. Now go away. Leave us be. I do not need another white man's help.
Oh, glad that wasn't me.
Not my best work, John, by a long shot. Naylor doesn't want us meddling. I'm starting to wonder what this all achieves.
But she helped you anyway. Now we know that maniac's face and the cross he wore, we can still catch him.
Поговорим с инспектором.
You still here?
The intruder has a most peculiar tattoo on his neck, 2 lines and a point. Do you know anything about it?
You really want to know, kid? Why? You want to play a policeman or something?
I'm sure you have it in your records, so it won't hurt if I have it in mine.
In my records, it's just a tattoo, as it should be in yours. Ah, to hell with you. Suit yourself as to what you're going to do with it. Off the record, though, such tattoos are often connected to a man named Mr. Niccolo Bernadotti.
Bernadotti, you say?
A respectable businessman in Scaladio. His company imports goods and wines, and smuggles everything that can be smuggled between the colonies and the mainland. His people can be identified by an obscure tattoo, just like the one over there our friend has. But these are all merely rumors, you see. If Mr. Bernadotti was a criminal, he'd be in prison now. Or hanged, right?
Отправляемся в архив, который находится в ратуше. Выбираем субъекты. Предпринимательство. Период. Британцы. Реестр. Род занятий. Никола Бернадотти основал акционерное общество в 1873 году. Главная контора расположена на юго-востоке Скаладио, на Базар-Роуд у перекрестка Строуман-Роуд. Компания перевозит товары между британскими колониями в Африке и другими землями Британии, в том числе картоной. Как правило, груз продовольствия, бытовые товары, вино, кофе и прочее. Основатель мистер Никола Бернадотти родился на Сицилии, переехав в Лондон в 1873 году в возрасте 39 лет. Позже в том же году перевел главную контору на Кордону, заявив, что хочет быть ближе к колониям, где ведет дела. Со дня прибытия на остров мистер Бернадотти проявлял себя как меценат и вложил немало средств в его процветание. Из недавних пожертвований можно отметить покупку нового оборудования для полицейского участка и помощь губернатору с перевозкой воздушного судна «Свинцовый дирижабль» из Германии.
What a lovely man this Bernadotti is, eh, Sherry? Can't wait until we get to meet him.
Теперь мы должны отправиться в контору Бернадотти.
It seems they're not expecting guests.
I won't wait for an invitation, John.
These workers don't look like your average Cordona folk.
They're refugees from the camp.
That's our way in, Sherry.
Hey, yo. This is private property. You lost something.
I'm here to discuss business with Mr. Bernadotte. I tried the front door, but...
Mr. Bernadotte isn't seeing anyone. You'll have 3 seconds to walk away or you'll never walk again. Capito?
It's in Mr. Bernadotte's best interest to...
1.
Well, this has been miserable.
Sherlock, think. We know what the fellows from the gang look like. You can easily blend in.
Можно пойти на пролом и сразиться с людьми Бернадотти, или замаскироваться, что мы и сделаем. Для этого нам нужно найти любой магазин с одеждой.
Come closer and try something. The finest clothes for the finest citizens. A perfect choice.
Переодеваемся и возвращаемся в контору.
Hey, stop. Who are you? Haven't seen you before.
Didn't see you either, mate. I'm John. Just shipped in from London. Cheap bastards had me sharing a bunk with 2 others.
Aye, that sounds like Bernadotte. Why are you here?
A problem at the refugee camp. I need to report to Mr. Bernadotte. The sooner the better.
I knew it was only a matter of time until those savages stirred up trouble. Go on, get inside.
Осматриваемся.
You did it, Sherry. A full immersion into the criminal underworld.
The silver and treasure, mate. Loads of pirate gold buried somewhere around, just waiting to be found.
It's all right, there's no treasure.
But maybe there is. I just need to crack the bloody riddle.
Sherry, look. This seems familiar.
Let's see what's hidden there. Vogel's stolen painting. Isn't it curious how it developed into a much more interesting case? Masks, traditional for the Chokwe people of Central Africa. A Dogon statue from West Africa. A century old at least. VH Grindley Flow Blue tableware. This is what lies behind the facade of Bernadotte Company Limited. An amazing piece of culture. I imagine many collectors and museums would be interested in having it.
Hello, friend. Tough day, eh?
The Bernadotte Company Limited trade network reaches the most distant colonies of the Great Empire.
It must be very convenient for a man like Bernadotte.
I suppose it's Mr. Bernadotte with our fine governor. 1875. It was taken a few years back. John, how many people in Cordona have a photograph with the governor, do you think?
You definitely don't have one.
Excuse me, Mr. Bernadotte is busy right now.
I don't know who you are, but someone will be punished for letting you in. But first, let's talk. Whenever you're ready. I'd hate to intrude.
Составляем портрет Бернадотти. Делаем вывод, что он безжалостный главарь.
Bad news. The thug you sent to the refugee camp only succeeded in stabbing himself. His next and final journey will be to the morgue.
Hold your horses. Who the hell are you?
Sherlock Holmes. And you are Niccolo Bernadotte, a smuggler, kidnapper, and notorious cutthroat, among other things.
Few men would dare waltz into my office and address me like that. You are either overconfident or unintelligent. This is private property. Give me one reason why I should not shoot you on the spot. I am sure my friends at the station would call it self-defense.
Mr. Bernadotte, do you know the name Boniface Mercurio?
I do not.
Mercurio was a local artist. Recently, a man broke into his apartment, ransacked the place, and killed him. The thief was looking for something.
You are testing my patience, boy.
In a moment, the connection will reveal itself. As I said, Your man was found dead in the refugee camp. He was there to kidnap a woman, but the other refugees intervened to try and save her. The ensuing scuffle resulted in the man's accidental suicide. He sported the same tattoo as your men in this building. In fact, it also bears a resemblance to the one on your neck. Care to explain what business your man had with this woman?
You have no idea what you are talking about. I can assure you this was no kidnapping. The refugees in the camp are on edge. What happened there is a tragic accident, one I am not responsible for.
For what reason was your man there if not to abduct her?
Why would I answer? You are yet to justify your presence in the slightest.
I was hired, privately, to investigate the recent theft of a painting from an art gallery. My investigation led me to a man from your organization, and thus, to you, Mr. Bernadotte.
That is quite a stretch. Why would I need to steal a painting when I could buy anyone I wanted?
Interestingly enough, I spotted the stolen painting in your storeroom.
I buy and sell a lot of things, Mr. Holmes. Unfortunately, if this is true, it is not the first time I have been sold stolen merchandise. I presume you were hired by the owner of the gallery. Tell them to contact me, and we'll sort out the situation. So, this painting is why you broke into my office. So many words, so little action. When you barged into my office, Mr. Holmes, I got the impression you wanted to talk business. Now I see you had come just to talk. Tell me exactly what you want, or get out.
It was necessary groundwork for what comes next. I have enough evidence to conclude that the gallery thief, the artist's killer, and the dead man in the camp are all the same person.
Your time is almost up, Mr. Holmes.
Before you draw your gun, there is one final detail I am yet to mention. The young woman your man was tasked to collect from the refugee camp had been defiled at a perverse masquerade party. That violation was captured in a photograph by Boniface Mercurio and used as a reference for his painting. The photo shows the attacker's face.
Finally. That's why you're here, Mr. Holmes. You have the photograph.
It is what your man was after when he broke into Mercurio's apartment, and it is what you're after too, isn't it, Mr. Bernadotte?
You have the photograph with you? How much do you want for it?
I am not naive enough to carry it with me, and I am compelled to ask why you want it. Who is the man visible in the photograph? An associate?
Not yet, Mr. Holmes. Though with this picture, that may change. The man in the photo is a British envoy on Cordona.
What exactly do you want from him?
My business dealings are often arduous in their bureaucracy. A man in his position, willing to look the other way, could ease my work significantly. In return, I will make sure no one looks his way either. A favor for a favor.
Also known as blackmail, the modus operandi of any true professional.
It was not originally my idea. Mercurio set things in motion, extorting the envoy for the most trivial of ends. Money. In response, the envoy hired my man to retrieve the painting and the photograph, eliminating Mercurio's leverage. I only learned the whole story after the artist was killed in his home.
And rather than extricate yourself, instead you took over Mercurio's venture.
It fell into my lap. As a businessman, I simply seized the opportunity. Now, how much do you want for the image?
Why did you send your man to remove the woman from the camp?
Without a photograph, her testimony was the next best thing. Securing her was in everyone's interest. Victims and witnesses all too often disappear. I thought the girl was safer with us. I did not anticipate what would happen at the camp.
I could not help but appreciate the collection of smuggled artifacts in your storeroom. You have rather diversified your business.
Oh, high and mighty of you, Mr. Holmes. Not all smuggling is immoral. I pay generous rates to developing cultures and spread their culture to eager buyers. And furthermore, I supply many immigrants with a taste of home.
A very convenient way of thinking.
I have traveled wildly, Mr. Holmes. I've seen people in far-flung lands for whom my services are a lifeline. Without them, they would starve. The tax on cargo is often so absurd that it would be more profitable to simply sink your ship than dock it in the harbor. And trust me, I am speaking from experience.
I saw refugees from the camp at your warehouse. They work for you.
I have made certain arrangements with City Hall and the police. Thanks to me, refugees can work and be paid. It's a pathway to freedom.
And how much do you save by capitalizing on their cheap labor?
I have heard no complaints. They seem happy just to get out of that slum.
Why should I give you the photograph?
Just name your price.
What if my price were not money? You claim to have connections, Mr. Bernadotte. Perhaps you could improve conditions for the refugees. Give them a chance for a better life.
Ha! I do have connections, Mr. Holmes, but help the whole camp? You are asking too much. I could, however, make arrangements for one person. The woman who was violated will have her own home outside the camp, solely for her and her child. She will no longer be a refugee, but a princess. That I can guarantee.
Is that really possible?
It will be neither fast nor easy, but I can do it. She deserves it, don't you agree? And as for her abuser, he will serve me, as much as he deserves.
So in your plan, everybody will be given their due. Especially you, Mr. Bernadotte.
Seems like a fair deal, no? I doubt anyone could offer you better. Simply give me the photograph, and the world becomes a better place. I give you my word.
What makes you think you can decide what's best for these people?
Such is the arrogance of British imperialism. I take your point.
А на этом на сегодня все. Всем удачи, всем пока и увидимся в следующей серии.